Hey everyone, Editor Cooper here. Wanted to jump on real quick and let you know some unfortunate news. The unfortunate news is the tournament that I was going to play that I focused a couple of these videos around that are coming up, not going to happen anymore. I filmed one that was all about how I felt my game was going into my first event, and well, my first event's not going to happen now. But I do feel like the content is fine, and so I'm going to put this disclaimer at the front of this video and another video all about indoor tournament prep, because it's supposed to be a super rainy week, and so I filmed an indoor tournament prep video that applies to any other course. It just happens to focus around the course that I was planning to play in a couple weeks here, or in a week here when I'm filming this. And so I want you to know that I appreciate you still clicking on to the video. I still appreciate you taking the time, but do understand that due to some circumstances and opportunities that I felt like I couldn't say no to right now, because they directly connect to that video all about calling that I released not that long ago. I felt like this was something that was more important than going to play a disc golf tournament. And so, like I said, thank you for still clicking on. Thank you for taking your time to watch. Yes, this is a disclaimer saying I'm not actually playing these events that I'm going to be talking about, but I still feel like these two videos are well worth the time and energy to finish editing and to put out. So, thanks for the third time now. We will catch you in our regularly scheduled content. You know, a lot of people are willing to talk about tournament prep when it comes to the bag. But what if tournament prep didn't start out in the field, or didn't start on a tee box or behind a basket, but it started with a map? Or if it started with visualization? Now, I'll tell you, I've been tournament prepping this way now for, this will be year number 2, where I was really getting into tournament prep from this direction. And so I figured I would take the time to show you how I go about my tournament prep. This starts before I ever lay foot on the course. This starts well before I do anything else in my prep, because I find it very important that I go through and I look at these. I take a look at the course map. I take a look at the course layout. What kind of course am I getting myself into? And what I do is this little black notebook goes in my bag after I've taken some notes on the course. So that way I can view this in the midst of a round to keep myself grounded on the goal at hand, which, you know, could be a birdie on a hole, or could be just to take the easy par and walk away. And so I'm going to sit here, I'm going to walk you through how I break down a course before I ever step foot on it, before a tournament. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're gonna pull up a course map here, and I'm going to screen record real fast so that way you guys can see the same thing I'm looking at here. So you can see the course I'm playing is McWoods at McClellan Championship Disc Golf Complex. It gives you a little short overview of the course. This course is a shorter, all wooded layout. It's on the west side of the property. You know, using the lion and eagle holes with pink baskets as the ultimate basket placements. So it gives you a little bit of information. You're looking for the pink baskets, you know, that's something good to know. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to walk us through this here. So hole 1, it looks like it's 173 feet, and I understand that UDisc isn't the greatest measure of distance, but that being said, it is something to note that this shot, the shot shape looks like it's a little left to right. Instead of it being straight, it looks like I'm going to need something that's going to either stay on a slow drifting anhyzer the entire way, or something that's going to go flat with some late flip on it. That being said, that gives me an idea of what kind of shot or what kind of disc I'm gonna throw. At 173 feet, I can get a putter there. I'm not worried about getting a putter there. I can throw a putter that far. What I'm worried about is, do I have a flippy enough putter in my bag that I can start on some hyzer, let it flip up and go straight, and then turn? So the first note I'm going with is it's a left to right. This is a wooded track, right? So on a wooded track, you are going to get a variety of different shots, usually. But in this case, I have a left to right on hole 1 here. It's just something to know. Another thing that I like to know, and this is probably going to be for an overall note, which I can touch on again at the end here, is I'm going to talk about the fact that I need to commit to the line. This course is going to challenge my line hitting ability, and so looking at it, I know for a fact, okay, any shot's gonna have to be heavily committed. The thing here is, when I need to commit to the line, what I'm not going to be looking for on this shot in particular, I'm not looking for a forehand line. I can't commit myself to a forehand well enough to say, hey, this is a line that I know I need to be able to hit. Alright, so then we're going to move on to hole 2. Hole 2 is another par 3. Hole 2, par 3, listed at 188 feet on UDisc. Now, this shot on UDisc does look like it is a hyzer. And if you zoom in a little bit and you kind of take a look, based off the UDisc mapping, I would agree that it probably is a hyzer. But is it a hyzer with a stable disc, or is it a hyzer with a neutral disc, or is it a hyzer with an understable disc because you need something to push a little bit? Alright, so again, no, what kind of shot shape do I need? It's got to come out on hyzer because I need this disc to work from right to left. Do I need ground play? You know, is that something that is going to be beneficial to my shot? Maybe, maybe not. Again, talking about in the first hole, look for the committed line. Alright, we're going to move on to hole 3 here because, again, here we go. We have another par 3 to kick off this course. So we're going par 3, par 3, par 3, right off the jump. This one gets a little longer at 223. So at 223, I can get a Luna there. I can get a putter there. I'm pretty comfortable in that range with my putters. But this is probably going to be one of those shots where I want to be able to commit to a line. I want to be able to smooth a disc versus trying to throw it as hard as possible. So my note for myself on this hole is disc up. Don't be afraid to disc up. Stay smooth. Just looking at this, it's a relatively straight shot. I don't care how I achieve it, whether it's with a hyzer flip to flat, whether it's a relatively flat shot. It does look like, based off of the map, maybe it does drift a little bit to the right, so that's something to take into account. But I want to be able to throw something smooth and committed with this shot. Okay, I'm jumped over to hole 4. Hole 4 is another par 3 here. It is 204. This looks like a pretty straight shot from the map. So again, I can get a putter 200 feet. That's not a concern of mine. My concern is do I have to throw a putter hard? Is there elevation change? Is there anything like that I need to be concerned about? So again, disc up if needed. I can throw a mid and be fine. I don't need to prove that I could throw a putter 200 feet. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to score the best we can, right? So we're going to disc up and we're going to put down the same idea. Stay smooth. One thing I didn't know is that on these first 4 holes, I'm calling these holes birdie chances. So when I'm digging through this, I'm looking for birdie chances that if I hit my line and I do what I need to, I'm going to have a good chance at birdie. This is important to me because I stay out of my head. If I know on a course I have, say, 12 birdie chances and 6 holes I'm playing for par, that means if I miss one, well, that's fine. I still have 11 chances. And so just knowing that helps my mental game when it comes to planning for an event. Now, we get to hole number 5. Hole number 5 is a par 4. It is 355 feet according to UDisc. And if you look at the map itself is interesting because it looks like it plays straight and then to a very hard left-hand turn. Now, I could do this in a couple of ways. Do I want to play through the corner or do I want to play to the corner? That is something that I have to decide when I get to the course, when I get a little practice in. And so my note is pick a landing zone. I need to know where I want to land this disc on the tee shot because it could easily get away from me if I push too far or if I don't push far enough. So knowing what I'm trying to do is going to help me understand what the second shot's going to look like. But that being said, I need to be able to score or at least get a shot off from either spot. So whether I play to the corner or through the corner, my second shot has to be dialed in as well. This is one of those where it is a 2-shot birdie look if I throw 2 good shots. But this is a hole where I have a feeling we can get tempted into saying, oh, well, it's only 355 feet. This should be an automatic birdie for me no matter what. So instead of that, I'm going to focus on the idea that a par on this hole is going to be fine. A par is fine. Telling myself that now helps me not be like, oh, this should be an easy birdie. Let's make sure we get it. Because then we move into hole 4, and hole 4 starts to get, or hole 6 here, sorry, not hole 4. I move into hole 6 here. Hole 6 is 275 feet, 276 feet, a par 3, but it looks like it has a really hard left-hand turn at the very end of it. And so, again, looking at this and not trying to get ahead of myself, you don't want to be like, well, that should be a pretty well straight shot with a skip at the end. So, the Captain's Raptor or an Athena, or not an Athena, an Onyx. I don't bag an Athena, a Sagara, something like that. And so when I look at this, I'm going to put down in my head that this is a par hole. Not because I don't think I can do it, but because if I tell myself it's a par hole and then I happen to get a birdie on it, I'm going to be feeling really, really well with myself. I'm going to know that I did exactly what I wanted to based off of my notes. Okay, hole 7 here, another straight shot. I'm going to guess this is probably a very tight tunnel shot just because of how straight the map looks. And so I'm probably throwing a mid here. I'm probably going Buzz. I might go MD4 or Origin on Hyzer. It just kind of depends on what my release is up to this point. Hole 8, again, back-to-back straight shots, about the same distance. We're throwing the same shot most likely. I will say that if there is an Anheuser line or a Hyzer line, I am going to look for those on those two shots, but I'm not going to be completely worried about if I don't get it or get it. Hole 9, we're looking at another par 3 here. This one, again, this one has a bend earlier in it, it looks like, but I'm going to guess, just based off of kind of how it looks like the terrain runs, is I'm going to have to take something pretty neutral, like my Buzz, and throw it on Hyzer, so that way it stands up slightly in the Hyzer flight the whole way. It is also probably a shot I could take with my neutral zone, possibly, or even the Luna. So we'll have to see. Hole 10 is a 307-foot par 3. This is an automatic onyx shot. And you might be saying, but Cooper, you could probably push your fairway drivers that far. Yes, I can. I could throw a cicada or something that far on a rope. But anytime I'm in the woods and I have a 300-foot plus hole, I go to my flippier side of my onyxes, because then I don't have to throw them as hard and I can commit myself to a line. So here, hole 10, automatic onyx shot for me. Hole 11, again, we're back to a 300-foot shot, and guess what? I'm going to another onyx. This one I'm gonna have to stand up a little bit and have it push and not be super overstable. This might be one of the exceptions to where I might go with my flippiest cicada and just put it on a bunch of hyzer, so that way it just stands up slightly through the entire flight. But again, 300 feet and above, I'm going to a faster disc, so I don't have to throw it as hard. Hole 12 is very similar to a lot of the other holes we've already talked about. Straight shot, find a line, commit to the line. Hole 13, again, here we are at 313 feet. An onyx shot yet again, most likely. Hole 14, a nice little 215er here. That's a good putter shot, that's a good buzz shot, that's a good zone shot. Just kind of depends on the shot shape that I'm going to throw on that hole. Hole 15. Hole 15 is again just a nice little straight shot, not a big deal, pretty simple. Hole 16 is interesting to me because it reminds me of a couple of holes around here where it looks like it is dead straight and slightly downhill, just based off of where some of the shadows and stuff fall in this picture that I'm looking at. It looks like it's downhill, so I'm very curious if I can jump putt my way down that hole, and I might try. Let's see here, hole 17, again, straight shot, 220. Don't be afraid to disc up. Don't be afraid to throw an anhyzer line or a hyzer line. Like, find a very committed line. And then hole 18. Hole 18 is listed as a par 4 on UDisc, but is only listed at 296 feet here, which makes me interested to know, like, is this the actual, like, distance of the hole? Is this the actual lines of the hole? So sometimes this doesn't always work, because that doesn't seem like a distance par for that hole. But that being said, that's something why being on the course is important. I can only do so much from looking at a map and looking at the hole and the directions they go, because again, UDisc is only as good as the information it's given. Now, I've looked at the map, I've taken my notes, I'm ready to put this in my bag and head to the course and practice. But that being said, I'm not done yet. I have a goal of reaching 950 this year. I don't know if it's attainable, but it's going to be close, and so we're going to shoot for it. I raised my rating about 50 points last year, and so I think it's possible, and so that's why I'm like, you know what, let's shoot for 60 this year. So one of the other things that I will do is I will go find old events here. So this event is from February 8th of 25. And I like to look at like the winning scores here. So I want to play MA2. MA2, 9 under won it here. MA3, 5 under won it. Let's see here. MA1, 14. MPO, 12. And so looking at it, no one shot crazy great, but then I kind of like to look at the round ratings, so I know, alright, these are the ones that rate really well. So a 52, which was not bad, right? Not a terrible round out there, was 939. In order for me to hit, you know, 940, I would have to shoot a 51. Or 950, I'd have to shoot a 51. And so, that being said, that's something to keep in track. Here's another event that I found. This is from August of 24. and looking at the round ratings and the winning scores, MPF MA2 in this event, and so MA3 was at 2 under. All that to be said, this is just my way of looking at it. So looking at this one, a 48 was 985. A 53, which would have probably put me on the other at the 52, 51. Yeah, so a 51 is again going to be right in that 950 range at this event. And so I'm not looking to shoot crazy hot rounds out there for my first event, but I am looking to shoot consistent rounds. You know, I want to shoot above my rating in 2 rounds, and I want to have an event that's well above my current rating. You know, I'm 891. I would love to shoot in the 920s because I think it's very possible. I think it's very doable. I don't think I have to overcomplicate it any. And so I really do think a 920 rated tournament isn't the end of the world. I think it's something that is very possible and is very capable of doing. But that being said, this is my first event of the year, and so we'll have to see how that goes over. Now, we're going to take a move. We're going to the living room real fast. So something else that I enjoy doing is some mental visualization when I am getting prepared for an event. So in my hand is probably the 6 discs outside of my putters that I will probably throw the most out there. Just looking at the course maps and looking at all of those things. Obviously, there will probably be a few others that I throw out there, but like I like to go walk through a tee shot. So lining up a tee shot, I'm getting up there, I'm thinking through it. Okay, am I going to go hyzer flip MD4? Am I going to go flat to Annie buzz? Like, what am I feeling confident in? Alright, I've chosen the buzz. I'm walking through my routine here, and so line up the shot, deep breath, and go. Tell yourself go, and ran into my dog. But you understand the concept of the visualization here. And so then I like to go through that a couple of times. I like to, alright, I have a shorter hole. Well, I know I can get the Luna here, but I've kind of been uncommitted to my lines so far today. So let's commit up to the buzz here, and let's go through this again. I got to put this on hyzer so it drifts the whole way just to the left. And so going through, hyzer release, make sure I hit the thought of what I'm trying to achieve here. I like to do that. I know it kind of sounds silly. Visualization is something that is silly to me even sometimes, but it helps me understand a course better. It helps me understand that I'm going to have to process some decisions when I'm on the course even. Some of the best events I've had are ones where I have a plan, I have it written down, and I get out there and I'm throwing a certain disc super well. Typically it's this one, and I just rely on it. The notes go out the window. I visualized walking myself through different decisions. You know, it's the difference between a straight putter and a hyzer flippy putter for me sometimes, okay? If I'm gonna go with the straighter Luna here, I'm gonna make sure it comes out on Annie, whereas I need to put this on some hyzer so it flips and turns, or it's gonna turn too much. And so it's like, what shot do I feel confident in on this day? That's the last really step that I take when it comes to tournament prep when I'm stuck inside. So this week was supposed to rain all week, and I haven't touched a disc. I threw maybe 12 shots in between storms today, just to kind of figure some things out with my bag and my fairway drivers for a second. But I'm not getting to the course. And so I decided I would bring you along on what my prep looks like when it's raining, or just the prep I also have to do even when it's nice outside. These are things that I do no matter what the weather's like. And so I appreciate you taking time to click on the video, take a look at it, see what's going on, see if I'm crazy or not, you know? I'd love to hear what you do to prep for tournaments. I'd love to know if there's something I should add or take away. Do you enjoy looking at course maps and walking yourself through your shots? You know, let me know. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, do the YouTube thing, and as always, do not forget to walk those fairways with purpose. We'll see you in the next one.